Hello, good afternoon, friends. Uh, I, Dr. Sachin Kadam, welcomes you in yet another webinar today. This webinar is on global trends in stem cell therapy. The study of stem cells offer great promise for better understanding basic mechanism of human development, as well as hope for harnessing these cells to treat a wide range of disease condition. We all know this. So in this talk, I will try to summarize how stem cell therapy market is developing across the globe, the clinical trials associated with it, and the regulatory requirement. So let's start with today's webinar, Global Trends in Stem Cell Therapy. We all are aware that stem cells are those cells from our body that theoretically has the ability to continuously divide. When stem cells divide, then each new daughter cell has potential to either remain stem cells or to differentiate into various other kinds of cells that forms bodies, tissue and organ. Under certain controlled conditions, stem cells can be induced to become tissue or organ specific cells with special functions. They can be used to treat affecting those specific organs and tissue. So we all know that there are two main types of stem cells: embryonic stem cells, which are found in embryo at very early stage of development. These are pluripotent. That means they can develop into more than 200 types of cells found in our body, providing the potential for broad range of therapeutic application. And the second one is somatic or adult stem cells, which reside in specific tissue throughout the body after development. Adult stem cells are generally multipotent with limited differentiation capacity. There are stem cells which derive from extraembryonic tissues like placenta, umbilical cord, amnion, etc. are generally considered as adult stem cells, but many times they also categorize separately as extraembryonic stem cells. Stem cells which are derived from fully differentiated adult cells and reprogrammed back to embryonic stem cells like state are called induced pluripotent stem cells. The reprogrammed cells function similar to embryonic stem cells with pluripotency. Japan's health ministry was first to approve clinical trials using induced pluripotent stem cells in 2013. We all know that stem cells has a wide range of application. Stem cells can be used to treat diseases right from our hair to toenail. Stem cells are useful in aesthetics, lung disorders, diabetes, bone-related disorders, etc. Stem cell-based research is constantly evolving, and the number of publications are also increasing at the enormous rate. If we type stem cells in PubMed, this is the trend which we see. In 2019, almost 28,000 publications pertaining to stem cells appear. Although 2020 there is a little drop, but that could be because of coronavirus pandemic. If we see the funding situation, National Institute of Health in US have funded non-human, non-embryonic stem cells the most. After that, human non-embryonic stem cells have got the funding. Human embryonic stem cells have got very less funding, and that could be because of there are many ethical issues concerned surrounded by embryonic stem cells. The state of the science currently lies in the development of fundamental knowledge of the property of human pluripotent stem cells. The scientific capacity needs to build an understanding of the molecular mechanism that drives cell specialization needs to be advanced. The nature of regulation of interaction between host and transplanted cells needs to be explored and understood. Cell division needs to be understood and regulated. and the long-term stability of the function and transplanted cells needs to be established. If we see the stem cells clinical data, clinical trial data, and if we type like for this database, if we visit WHO's International Clinical Trial Registry platform or clinicaltrials.gov platform, the results what we get are very encouraging. For stem cell therapy, in case of total cell therapies trial, stem cell used in use is increasing every year. You can see the trend in this particular graph. The proportion of clinical trials classified as novel application of stem cell therapy increased from 2004 to 2011. The total number of newly registered trial increased linearly every year from 2007 onwards till 2012. And the more than quadruplet increase have been seen post 2012. The decrease in clinical trials in 2012 may be due to the lag in trial registration. The rate of increase in new trial listing dropped dramatically in 2018. This could be because many old trials enter in phase 2. Even the transient increase we can see in phase 3 clinical trials in 2012 to 2014. Major factor that makes comparison among different trials difficult and may show translation of mesenchymal stem cells to clinic, including heterogeneity among the mesenchymal stem cells from different sources used for different cell preparation protocol, then different passage numbers. So these could also have found to contribute into unclear data in clinical trials. If we see the global scenario of clinical trials being conducted, USA and Europe are the leading. Following them is China and then India. To get more clear idea, if we see the only US region, the West and East coasts are dominating as many stem cell research institutions are present in these areas. If we see the Europe, even in Europe, Germany, UK, France, Spain can seem dominating the region for stem cell clinical trials. The total number of trials is in this particular figure is indicated in each blue pie chart with the proportion of novel trials representative. If we have to see same statistics in line graph with year-wise distribution, we can see that sudden increase in clinical trials number with Asian continent post 2012. And this could be, because of China. We should thank China for these increased number of clinical trials, China and Japan. Middle East and South American part is not very active. However, if we see the Middle East provides maximum number of patients for stem cell therapy, and the South America or Central America have many stem cell therapeutic companies based in here or their headquarters in these areas. When I search for a source of mesenchymal stem cells used in clinical trials, bone marrow aspirate from the pelvis has been and continues to be the most frequently used source for mesenchymal stem cells for clinical trials. Umbilical cord is the second most common source of mesenchymal stem cell used in clinical trials, with their number being modestly higher than trials using MSC derived from adipose tissue by liposuction or even placental tissue. Placental MSCs are at the 4th position, representing less than 2% of trials. Various other sources have been combined in group called others. The other sources mean dental, dental stem cells or stem cells from such tissues. In these, in this other group, the largest population proportion of trial was reported in phase 2. There are similar number of allogenic and autologous MSC trial up until 2015. We all know what is allogenic and autologous means. Allogenic is like cells from other individual, autologous is from cell. So these MSC trials were increasing up to 2015, but thereafter more trials used allogenic than autologous mesenchymal stem cells. This trend may reflect an increasing number of trials using allogenic mesenchymal stem cells from cell bank established by companies. Allogenic stem cells clinical trials increased rapidly from 2008, a few years behind autologous stem cell clinical trials. Number of trials using MSCs from different sources divided by phase. The umbilical cord and placenta derived mesenchymal stem cells are the only allogenic source. Autologous mesenchymal stem cells are generally derived from bone marrow or adipose tissue, with small number from other sources like dental pulp, gingiva, oral mucosa, perinatal tissue, peripheral blood, skin, sometimes menstrual blood, stromal vascular fraction, and so on and so forth. Clinical trials are the primary means to evaluate the efficacy and safety of new drug and other medical technologies. Most clinical trials, however, are funded by pharmaceutical companies with enormous financial stake in the product being evaluated. If we see the clinical trial related to cell therapy, this is what the trend is. Furthermore, many public companies or government fundings are also available to carry out clinical trials along with the company's own fund. If we see the distribution of funding for stem cells based on clinical trial, it is very clear that majority of the fundings in case of stem cells is not from the company, but it's from the public partner. And this could be, this is not as per the drug molecule, because companies here are not per se interested into stem cell research or stem cell trial. They are more focused on chemical moiety of drug molecule. There are wide range of diseases that are treatable with the stem cells derived from many different types of stem cells, like stem cells from cord blood and other sources, or similar type of stem cells like bone marrow, peripheral blood, including stem cell disorders, acute and chronic forms of leukemia, myeloproliferative disorders, and many more. If we see the details of mesenchymal stem cells clinical trials by disease category, that what I found is there are somewhere around 14 different disease category that account for more than 90% clinical trials all across the globe. In these 90%, neurological disorders are the largest group, including 29 trials for spinal cord injury, 25 for multiple sclerosis, 20 for amyotrophic lateral sclerosis or ALS, 22 for stroke, 10 for Alzheimer's disease, 5 for traumatic brain injuries, 5 for Parkinson's, 4 for retinal degeneration, so on and so forth. The second most condition for mesenchymal stem cell clinical trial is joint disease, like femoral head necrosis, rheumatoid arthritis, or osteoarthritis. Route of MSc administration in clinical trials is very important. And this route of administration in clinical trials is subdivided by phase and dosing. IV injection is the most commonly used method for delivering mesenchymal stem cells to the blood, accounting for 43% of trial, with much fewer trial using arterial injection. Intrathecal is the second most common route and is used primarily for large number of neurological trials. Other MSCs or mesenchymal stem cell trials indicate local injection into tissue, including intracardiac, intra-articular, intramuscular, intraosseous, etc. Several trials indicating the use of mesenchymal stem cells embedded in biological matrices or synthetic material, biomaterial, and have been designed as implants. And generally, these implants are locally implanted in that particular tissue or organ. The highest proportion of trials advancing to phase 3 clinical trials are those that use intravascular, intracardiac, and intraosseous route of injection. If we see if we see the stem cell dose requirement or number of stem cell used in each trial, intravenous needs very high number of stem cells, which is due to the most of stem cells get trapped on the first pass through the when they first pass through the lungs. Then intra-articular injection allows mesenchymal stem cells uptake in tissue before reaching to the lung, and trials by this route have significantly lower average dose in narrower range than IV injection. However, there are some disadvantages with IA injection also. IT and IM doses also range widely, whereas intraocular, osseous, and intra-articular doses are lower and in a narrower range. If we have to see until now what has been successfully passed by clinical trials when we are talking about stem cells, this is what we should consider. All 3 clinical trials have been successfully completed by stem cell therapies for cornea, retina, skin and hair, bone, then bone marrow transplant or hematopoietic stem cell transplant. However, many studies are in phase 2 or still in phase 3 and about to complete, and those are also showing a promising results. And these indications are immunomodulation, musculoskeletal disorders, cardiovascular disorders, diabetes, Parkinson's, neurological disorders like ALS, etc. Now, if we see the market scenario, like how stem cells market globally and Indian stem cell market, the global regenerative medicine market is growing very fast at very high speed. In 2018, the market size was estimated to be somewhere around 24,000 billion US dollar. And the same is projected to grow to 152,000 billion US dollar by 2026. And the major share in this growth is projected from Asia, that is from China and India. At present, India's biotech industries are just 3% of overall global biotech industry market, but it's growing pretty fast. Back in 2017, India's biotech industry was worth only $15.9 billion. 1 year later, in 2018, it has grown more than 4 times to $51 billion. And it has been estimated that by 2025, it will grow to $100 billion. It means that it will grow from 3% of global market share to 19% of global market share. That means world's 1/5 biotech companies will be coming up just from India. This growth, what we see today, is just because the startup culture that started mushrooming is actually booming. As of today, there are around 2,700 to 3,000 startups in India, And this number is expected to increase significantly in coming few years. The estimated number of startups in 2024 is estimated at around 10,000 startups. In regenerative medicine area, if we see the global stem cell market, it is again growing at very high speed. The estimated compound annual growth rate of stem cell market is 10.2% for 2019 to 2025. And it is estimated that stem cell industry will grow almost to double of existing market share, which is from 7.8 billion US dollar to more than 15 billion US dollar. When we are saying the compound annual growth rate 10.2% of the autologous stem cell therapy segment, it is expected to grow at 10.1%, and the global share of stem cell therapy market will be a majority hold by USA, China, and India in coming future. If we see the competitive landscape or geographical trends of stem cell industries all across the globe, North America dominates the overall stem cell market, with the United States contributing to the largest share in the market. The United States and Canada have developed and have well-structured healthcare system. These systems also encourage research and development. These policies encourage global players to enter into USA and Canada. As a result, these companies enjoy the presence of many global market players. Additionally, Mexico is a developing nation with the benefit of being a neighbor of United States. It is also growing very rapidly. This allows many companies to penetrate in Mexico as well. This helps the growth in that particular region. Even same is the scenario with the Europe, like it has a major company hold in case of stem cell therapy. In Asia, India and China and Japan are growing at pretty fast rate. However, if we see the African continent or a Middle East, like there are not many stem cell industries are growing in this particular area. After North America, Asia is the biggest market for stem cell therapy. The growth of stem cell market from 2016 to 2021 is expected to be almost double. That is from 86 million US dollar to 146 million US dollars. If we have to see the Indian stem cell market, India has a very large potential stem cell market, and it is stated to be range at around 500 million US dollar. There are 45,000, like more than 45,000 stem cells transplant happens annually worldwide, and India contributes to the maximum number in this range. 25% of the overall budget, using stem cell therapy, we can reduce to a very large extent, and this savings could be up to 25 million US dollar. Thus, the potential to be a next revolution in the field of medicine, India has a very high potential and very high chances. Now, when we are saying that the stem cells, like we are using these stem cells for therapeutic purposes, so the major question arises, shall we call these stem cells a drug moiety? So if we see the stem cells or a cell therapy and a stem cell based regenerative medicine therapy are two highly related approaches to treat human diseases. In each case, doctor gives patient cells as the treatment rather than or in addition to conventional chemical drugs. Technically, the FDA calls stem cells biologics, but the FDA regulates stem cell product with the goal of ensuring safety and efficacy, much the same as traditionally defined chemical drug. That's why stem cells are considered as drug now throughout the globe. In February 2014, the US court of there was a verdict with the stem cell regulation in US, because if we see the stem cell industry is not very well regulated. So somehow a proper regulation for benefits of patient was required, and US came forward and they have started regularizing these stem cell therapy or use of stem cell for therapeutic approaches. So what they have done is they have focused on three general areas. They, in the sense, US FDA. What they have done is they have and these three areas are limiting the risk of transmission of communicable disease from donors to recipient, establishing the manufacturing practices that minimize the risk of contamination, required an appropriate demonstration of safety and effectiveness for cells and tissue that presents greater risk due to their processing or their use. So this is how stem cells were regulated from bench to bedside, and FDA played a very important role in this regulation. While regulating, US FDA, they were not the sole authority for regulation. The International Society for Stem Cells Research also played a good role with United States Pharmacopoeia. So US FDA, ISSCR, and USB, what they have done is they have formulated a rules and regulations. So under this trio, the authority of Section 361 of Public Health Service Act, FDA, has established regulation for human cell therapy or cell therapy products to protect the public from risk associated with the cell therapies and demonstrate the effectiveness of treatment. The US FDA and other potential societies such as ISACR and USB, they combinedly they put forward these HCP/P human stem cell therapy or product-based therapies. So human cellular and tissue-based tissue-based product are regulated through risk-based approach outlined predominantly in 21 CFR. So part 1271. So what this 21 CFR will see? So this 21 CFR is Code of Federal Regulation Title 21, which has different part for each application. For example, part 1271 deals with autologous bone marrow stem cells. Some human cellular and tissue-based products are regulated under part 1271 also, while other human cell therapy products are regulated under both part 1271 and FDA's Federal Food, Drug and Cosmetic Acts. So this is what 21 CFR is when to US FDA. Like US FDA, even in India, there are governing bodies which regulates the stem cell regulation, and these governing bodies are ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research. Then there is Department of Biotechnology, Central Drug and Standard Control Organization, Medical Council of India. So all these combines, they started putting forward rules and regulations for stem cell based therapy, and the very recent is 2017 guideline for stem cell use have been published by ICMR, and the new guideline are soon expected. I'll just skip this slides. Like it just shows what 21 CFR or US FDA says when it comes to stem cell therapy, because next slide will demonstrate the same. So US FDA and Indian regulatory approaches is same when it comes to stem cell therapy. So what they say is cell manufactured in large quantity outside their natural environment in the human body can potentially become ineffective or dangerous and produce significant adverse effects such as tumor, severe immune reaction, or growth of unwanted tissue. Even stem cells isolated from a person's own tissue can potentially present the risk when it puts into an area of the body where they could not perform the same biological function. That's they were originally performing. Like that's where these regulation comes into picture. The stem cells are actually immensely complex, and hence to handle these issues, US FDA and Indian regulatory bodies, they have come up with the stem cell workflow, which is given in this particular slide. Uh, it shows that minimal manipulation, where stem cells are just taken from the body, there is no manipulation happened, and they were used for therapeutic purpose. Then some manipulation, maximum manipulation, how one should go with the therapeutic approach. So this is particularly important when it comes to stem cell therapy. So the therapy providing hospitals or institutions should stick to these particular protocol when they administer stem cell therapy. So we were talking about the global scenario in case of stem cell therapy. So it is very much essential to know who will win the race in case of stem cell therapy. So in this, the global race to create companies offering stem cell therapy, presently Japan stands out from the other competitor. To prima facie, this could be because Japan is proactive, passing laws, regulation pertaining to stem cell clinics and stem cell therapy. Their approach is much lenient than countries like USA and European counterpart. Vast majority of these therapies have not passed the randomized trial control or double-blinded study, and which is it's good way also, because as I have explained in the earlier slide, when we talk about the stem cell therapy in clinical trials, it also depends on the source of tissue, at what passage we are administering the cells, whether they are from the same batch. So all these, creates a variation when it comes to stem cell clinical trials, and that could give rise to different results. So a very strict regulation pertaining to stem cell therapy is actually not required, and Japan is following that. This is in a way beneficial for the country as well as for human race, as from all clinical trials conducted across the globe have showed that stem cell therapy is not something where one shoe fits all. There is a requirement on personalized therapy. I have already talked about the personalized therapy in my previous webinar. If you want, you can just visit the link and see what personalized therapy is when it comes to stem cell therapy. There are many pros and cons with the stem cell therapy that have already been discussed in the earlier slides also, and my previous webinar. You can just visit those webinars and see them again. So today's the world needs pioneering research that Japan is conducting in stem cell biology, and need promising therapies for chronic diseases, but getting from one to other takes time. Policies need to be upgraded continuously, and laws should be helpful to fast track approval system to implement them. Not in case of not cases like India, where the guideline came in 2017 and we are still waiting for the new guideline, when the research is progressing at very fast pace. The companies that provides therapy must compelled to operate in public eyes and not to be hidden. That will help achieve transparencies. Like if you see many stem cell companies, they just don't disclose their source of cells, from where they're getting those cells, whether they have their laboratory, whether the lab is GMP ISO certified lab, what kind of facility they have. So if everything is open and if it's in public eye, there will be a very high transparency, and I'm very sure the patient will get a high quality stem cell therapy. Just to recap, stem cells are the drug entity, and they have shown promising future in regenerative medicine. Stem cell therapies are projected to grow very fast, more than double by 2025 to capture major shares in health industry. Indian stem cell industry is flourishing, and soon India can lead to the world's regenerative medicine market. Controlled clinical studies, flexible law, fast track approval are must when we talk about Indian or a stem cell market for that matter. Thank you so much. This is what Advanced Cells Group is about, and you can find us here. So thank you so much for attending this webinar. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you so much for sharing your precious time and knowledge with us. Sir, I'm having two questions.
Yes.
My first question is, like if you are speaking about the regular stem cells, for example, embryonic stem cells and the tumor stem cells. So many properties resemble between the two. So is there any specific therapy, like for example, any chemotherapy regimen or something else that specifically targets the tumor stem cell?
Well, there is no such specific therapy, radiation therapy available for any kind of cells. Like if you're talking about just a tumor stem cells, because you cannot, when a person undergo chemotherapy, that person you cannot control, radiation to one particular cell type, because if you see the tissue is a mixture of different kind of cells, and generally chemo is given to a tissue rather than or a block of cells rather than a single cell population. So there is no such a particular chemotherapy available which can just hit the cancer stem cells.
Okay. And so my second question is, in one of your slides you have mentioned about the passage number. So yes. My question is how passage number affects the response of any stem cell to therapy?
Okay, it's actually a good question, because what happens as stem cells divide, like as the passage number increases, the stem cell, it has been shown that stem cell loses its stem cells to some extent. So the early passage is better, like that's the reason why scientists are continuously saying that if we use cells from passage number 3, 2, 3 or so, the potential of stem cells curing that particular defective cell type is much higher than if you go beyond passage 5 or for that matter somewhere around passage 10 or so. So the early passage is always good for therapies.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Hi, this is Dr. Ranjit.
Yeah, hi, Dr. Ranjit.
Yeah, with extension to the first question. So is it majorly stem cell? When we are calling a cell as a stem cell, it should possess those two characters, multiple differentiation and self-replication. Yes. When it's losing its characteristics, what is the stemness in the passage after 5, then how we can consider it as a stem cell? Actually, it should possess its characters.
No, what I mean is they do not lose its potential completely, the stemness potential. So if suppose out of 100, if say 70-75% cells are getting differentiated into desired lineage, that differentiation potential of the cells decreases to somewhere around 20-25% at passage number beyond like 10 or beyond 10. So the stemness is always there, but the differentiation capacity decreases to a large extent. But the stem cells never loses their property, like they more or less they become quiescent in nature. That's the reason if we see the adult body, human being adult body, like it's been observed that every tissue and every organ has its own pool of stem cells. But as we grow old, we have to give a stem cell therapy, like external dose of stem cells to that particular organ, because the number of stem cells present in that organs are just because they are multiplying or dividing, they become quiescent in nature, and that's the reason the external dose is required. So I hope I have made it clear, like why the passage number and how it is related to stemness?
Yeah, actually, for this question, I have an answer, doctor. So from almost 6-7 years back, I have done an experiment. I have done a comparative study between adipose-derived stem cells and umbilical cord-derived stem cells, umbilical cord tissue, and the dental pulp stem cells. At initial passages, like P3 passage levels, I was with the induction medium. I differentiated these 3 stem cell types into adipogenic, osteogenic, neurogenic, and myogenic differentiation medium. And compared with lateral passages, like after 15th passage, the stemness will be the same, and I got the equal, more or less equal number of conversion in both scenarios. So the passage level does not any proportional to the differentiation potential. So generally the new researchers have some confusion in the early stage that after some passages the stemness and the differentiation potential may lose, but it's not like that.
Yeah, that's what I never said it's completely loose, but if you quantify, the number is less, you know, the differentiation number is less. Like, since you have proved it, you know, maybe the case, like I have not actually did the comparative study, whatever the literature says, I was trying to explain that, but it's good, like, you know, you have studied and you have explained me that. Thank you so much. Yeah.
That's why I just want to mention.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Adanjit. Any other questions?
Any other products recently came in the stem cell domain in India? Can we use any product?
Stempeutics have came up with a few products, stem cell based products. Basically, they have a bone marrow derived stem cells only, but they have a patented those cell products, and they are selling those into market, but not as you know, a product per se. Nothing has come into market, although if you see like, you know, many websites or many companies are claiming some stem cell derived products like cosmetics or creams or hair gel or something, but I really don't know how much the stem cells will be there in that and how much they will be effective. So I really don't know when it comes to the stem cell products, like unless and until we actually evaluate them, it's very difficult to comment on them.
No, doctor, actually it's also a guy is selling a product like some stem cell related component, and he just want to check how many number of stem cells present in that component. So I took that product and I seeded in a culture flask. I just want to see how many number of stem cells present. The guy who gave that product to him, to this doctor, so he said there will be some millions of stem cells, so for some cosmetic application purpose. So after seeding into the flask, I'm not even get a single adherent cell.
Yeah, so it's not possible, like, because these are not just pure stem cell for that matter. And if they have, even if they, suppose, let's consider like that person is selling stem cells, but in what form? Like if the cells are you know, adherent in nature, you have made it in a suspension, put it into some gel based thing, so even that gel and chemicals will act on the cells, and I really don't know how stem cell will remain alive for such a long period, because once
they're simply storing in the refrigerator kind of.
Yeah, exactly. So as a scientist or as a you know, researcher, it's very difficult to believe that you know, stem cell product for like a product containing stem cells for say hair rejuvenation or skin repair or something like that. It's very difficult to believe. Yeah.
And doctor, one more question. Why from long back, if so many clinical trials are in phase 1, phase 2 stages only, why they are not come up with a product line in the stem cell domain? I'm worrying, and actually I've done my PhD in stem cell biology. I've done my PhD in implantology, dental stem cells. Dental stem cells, I've done my PhD, and literally I'm losing interest to work with stem cells because it's very, very long. From 2010 onwards, I'm watching. So if there is any product coming up with the stem cells, and can we create some kind of market, and can we see the things
Yeah.
better. But seriously, losing hope with stem cells, doctor.
That's very true, and unfortunate to say, like you have already given me an example, like people are misusing stem cells potential for they have just made it as a money making business. So all these rules and regulations are very stringent in case of US and Europe. If you remember, I have mentioned that, like in Japan, the rules are not that strict, but in US and Europe they're very strict, and that is the main reason why there are multiple stem cell clinical trials are going on. However, it's a cell-based therapy, and I have said, like one shoe cannot fit to all individual. Like it has to be a personalized medicine. So when we are talking about stem cell therapy, and stem cell clinical trials, it's very difficult to categorize them as a successful clinical trials for mass. So, these are some of the hurdles which government and regulatory bodies needs to address, and they need to come up with a solution. And once everything is regularized properly, I'm very sure there'll be a boom in case of stem cell research and stem cell therapy.
Actually, the real guys who actually using stem cells, so they don't want to come outside. So
Yes.
if somebody, some doctor, really some clinician is having some problem like liver cirrhosis or something like that in the close knit, he want to use it for their family members, and they want to get the problem resolved, and they don't want to publish. They don't want to show to the world actually really what's happening.
That's very true. That's very true. And in fact, I believe that there is this a pharmaceutical lobbying could be one of the major role playing in this, because suppose the stem cells come for that particular disease, their complete product line will go haywire, right? So whatever expenses they have incurred for developing that medicine will be gone. It will be at toss. So maybe they are provoking these regulators. This is just my assumption. Like they might be provoking the regulators to not approve stem cell therapy that easily. This could be a reason why
Seriously,
approval is
I would
very
know.
low. Yeah.
And one more question. So where stem cell have MSCs, especially don't have any human leukocyte antigen.
Yes.
So how autologous stem cells and allogenic stem cells play a different role. So when they don't have HLA, they're like same, right? So
yeah, that's true. But I again, like coming to your first question, I have already mentioned, like as we age, the stem cell population become quiescent. So in case of autologous, if you take out, say, bone marrow, like this is what my personal feeling is: bone marrow stem cells, they can give rise to lineages pertaining to blood. They cannot, it's very difficult. It is possible, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it is difficult for them to differentiate into say pancreatic lineage or a neuronal lineage, and so on and so forth. But in case of allogenic, we are using umbilical cord derived stem cells, and these Wharton's jelly derived stem cells, which comes from umbilical cord, they are very easy to isolate, easy to get, and even it's been proven that they also express some of the embryonic markers like SSEA4, OCT4, and it shows that their potential of differentiation is much higher than that of allogenic stem cells. So that's the reason why people are shifting their focus from autologous to allogenic.
yeah, that's what, doctor. Actually, when compared with bone marrow, from bone marrow, it's a difficult process. There will be pain. There will be general anesthesia to obtain the bone marrow and all the process. Everything is tedious job. Where it's a biological waste, where umbilical cord tissue or dental pulp or these things, so easily you can get the cells and get the things done. I don't know why people are no. When you mentioning in the your graph also, the bone marrow will be the more. Why I don't know the if it is MSC, so why bone marrow?
Yeah, anyway. It's after all everybody's choice, but my personal choice is autologous. Anyway, thank you so